My wife and I met when we were in our late teens. She had an extremely traumatic upbringing and severe alcohol abuse issues with occasional drug use. She would drink to blackout and was physically violent with me during these periods, and during binges would make occasional suicide attempts or threats and was physically violent with others. She would flirt with and hang out with other men while blackout drunk. On 3 occasions throughout our relationship, I saw her kissing other men while fall down drunk. She would constantly accuse me of cheating despite me being totally faithful. For those who will say she chose to drink and is responsible for her drunken actions, that is not how addiction works. What she did choose was to not seek help for herself and play an active role in her recovery. So ultimately she is responsible, but her behavior while drunk doesn't hurt as bad because I know it was driven by illness. What did hurt was that she didn't address the causes of this and continued to minimize, deny, and dismiss the significance of her past on her drinking and her drinking on our lives. This was a source of conflict, but ultimately I chose to support her journey, love her and support her as best as I could, and hope things improved over time. And as we aged and matured together, she would one day be ready to face her past and address the root causes of her drinking. As we aged, the frequency decreased, but it was still really bad. She had awful social anxiety, and we were not able to socialize with my friend group because the result would be awkward or embarrassing situations due to excessive drinking. Bouts of suicidal threats or attempts decreased significantly, but binge drinking continued and occasional violence still happened. I smoked a lot of weed, but was functional and successful in my career. I do not drink and was not physically abusive. I was emotionally abusive. For example, I would yell at her the day after she did something like run off into the night drunk and go into traffic, hit me or someone I love, and so on. It's worth noting that I grew up with an alcoholic father, and then my mom was with a man for my high school years who was alcoholic and abusive, and that my father eventually overdosed and died when I was a young adult. My wife and I moved about 25 miles across the country to my home city with the goal of me starting a business, and us getting away from people and places that were very triggering for her. It went pretty well. She went back to work in her profession to help cover bills while I started my company. Prior to having our child, she worked but did not drive. I would drive her to work, drive to meet her at lunch, drive to pick her up. I began earning so much money that we lost more by me driving her around than she would earn, and as a couple we were further ahead with her not working. She stopped working and said she drank because she was bored. If she was going to be at home, she wanted to be a mom. She swore she would stop drinking to have a child, and she did. We got pregnant and she stopped entirely. The pregnancy was awful, the birth was complicated and mid-COVID. We had no family support. I was busy with my company. She was overwhelmed being the 24/7 caregiver to a demanding infant/toddler. We stopped having sex due to her pregnancy difficulties and didn't resume due to birthing injuries. I stayed faithful and dealt with my sexual needs myself. Sidebar is that I am a very sexual person and had always struggled with our sexual relationship. At times, when she would get drunk and become abusive, I would consider straying. I went as far as going for a walk with a girl once but felt awful and told the girl I had to leave. When our son was around a year old, she was clearly feeling overwhelmed, which was very reasonable. Even the most functional person would feel overwhelmed being with an infant 24/7 with no friends, no family, and a disengaged husband. She started drinking again as a result, but at the time I didn't see how this was a symptom of her lack of support. All I saw was that my son was going to grow up like I did, and she was breaking her promise without trying to get help. One night around 2 a.m., I heard noises in our bedroom and found her passed out drunk with our toddler crawling around the floor. I went in and grabbed our toddler and angrily yelled, "What are you doing? If you passed out with him on the chair, you could have suffocated him," and started leaving with him. She got angry and punched me in the face and pulled our toddler from my arms. I completely lost my temper, and for the first time ever I hit her back. I hit her like a father would hit the back of a child's head when they're misbehaving. It was fairly hard. She started crying. Something broke inside me in that moment. The level of abuse, dysfunction, my disappointment in myself for hurting her, for hurting our child, for bringing him into this environment and failing to make life safe and stable for him, it all flooded me. I had become a horrible, hateful person. I had so much resentment for my wife, my partner in life, my co-parent, that I hit her. I felt sick to my stomach and knew that I would never do something like this again. If I ever got near that point, I need to leave, not just the physical space, but the relationship. The next day we talked, and she said she deserved it and knew she needed to change. More of the same, not addressing the issues, but feeling shameful and swearing off drinking for a time, only to eventually build enough resentment and stress to justify returning. Infrequently binge nights happened, but they were limited to her playing loud music, which was upsetting, but I did my best to ignore it and try to sleep. We moved to a new house in the fall of 2022, and things were good in terms of drinking. She didn't really drink at home at all. We had sex maybe twice a month, but it felt like a chore and seemed to hurt her. Life was a grind. I would get up, work, come home, do childcare, and she would try to see me for a bit after our toddler fell asleep. Usually, we'd be together for 10 minutes, 20 minutes before he would wake up screaming. It was so stressful that she would sometimes not try to see me and just stay in bed scrolling for a couple of hours before sleeping herself. I could see that it frustrated and overwhelmed her too. We had zero time to ourselves. Her family was not functional and in another part of the country. My family had all passed away. She didn't want any babysitters until our toddler could speak clearly and was mature enough to share any situations of mistreatment. I felt like a paycheck. She felt like a mom robot. She was trying hard, staying sober. She got her license. She would drive him to some appointments. I tried talking to her about driving to appointments across the city so I didn't need to leave work, but she was too nervous with our toddler in the car. She tried talking to me about being more involved and present. All she wanted from me was to get up with them at 7:08 a.m. They slept together in our bed, so she was alone at night and alone getting up in the morning. I slept in the basement. I would often work or game until 3:04 a.m. and get up around 9:10 a.m. I asked her to move him into the baby room, but she wouldn't because she felt anxious that she was too far away at night, unable to respond in time for a fire, wouldn't hear a medical issue, etc. I was upset that I paid for a 4-bedroom house in an expensive area and we used 1 bedroom. She was upset about my lack of support. I was upset about our lack of connection. She was too. I asked for therapy, but she refused. I started developing feelings for a coworker. I told myself that if I hit midlife and dedicated 15 years to this person and drinking was still a problem. And on top of that, I'm developing feelings for other women and feeling like my attempts to resolve things with my wife weren't working, that I needed to end the relationship before I cheated. I brought up that I was in a really scary mental state, that I wasn't doing well mentally, and that I needed her to hear me. I needed connection. She got angry and refused to do anything until I stepped up. She brought up all the wrong I had done. The next time she drank, she played loud music while I was trying to put our child to bed. I texted her about it, and she told me something like, "Now you know how it feels to struggle alone as a parent, bud." The next day, I told her I wanted a divorce. Her reaction scared the shit out of me. She was so sad and scared she was shaking, crying, begging me to stay. I felt so fucking bad, so awful, so guilty. It hurt me so deeply to see the woman I love hurting so bad. I knew I was developing intense feelings for another woman and felt checked out. But how the fuck do I just leave the mother of my child, who has no other supports in this state? At the same time, how do I continue? I was totally tapped out. I had nothing left. I was so sad but also so angry that she didn't go to therapy with me before. That I went through more than a decade of intense abuse and infidelity. She refused to address it, but now that something is hurting her, she is totally invested in therapy, and that I don't want to be seen by her as unfair, not giving her a chance, abandoning and betraying her. It was so hard. I told her I don't want to reconcile until I see her do the work to address the root causes of her drinking. No more caving and forgiving because of promises to be better. I need to see it first. My feelings for my coworker were getting stronger as we worked closely together. I told myself I need to either forget about other women and totally dedicate myself to my wife altogether and accept a lifetime of struggle with these issues, or try connecting with another woman to see what it's like. I began opening up about my emotional pain to my coworker. She told me she was going through a breakup, and I lied and said I was too. I took my ring off at work so she would be more open to talking to me deeply. I thought I would wait until my wife had done some therapy and cut off the conversations with my coworker if my wife put in the effort and made progress. My wife wouldn't go to therapy solo or AA. She said she doesn't need it and was only interested in going with me. This made it seem to me like she wasn't focused on her drinking or her trauma, only in reconciling. To reconcile, I needed her to make that shift. I was growing closer with my coworker, and we started going for drives outside of work at night. My car broke down in a remote spot, and it was the middle of a cold snap in March. The tow truck was a 2-hour wait. We huddled up, and I put my arm around her. I hadn't had sex or orgasmed at all in weeks and was not thinking clearly. I started touching her sexually, and we had sex. It was very fast, only a couple of minutes. As soon as I finished, the tow truck came. I took her home and went home myself. I felt sick, and I went to what was now my basement apartment and cried while I cleaned myself. I reached out to a male friend who told me to deny until I die. I thought my wife might kill herself if I told her, but I wonder if we could have worked through it. Maybe I was just selfish and a coward. Weeks went by, and I did couples therapy with my wife. I wasn't able to invest fully because of my connection with my coworker. Even without her, I don't know if I would have been able to succeed in couples therapy. When I brought up the years of unaddressed abuse, resentment, and betrayal, my wife would fairly point out that it was years ago. I'm just focusing on the negative, let's move forward. We couldn't seem to focus on and get validation about my past hurts with her, and she didn't want to do AA or therapy individually for her trauma. I stopped going to couples therapy and started engaging with my coworker more. I told my wife that I needed space to think and just see if my feelings change. This was true in a way, but I didn't give her a fair shot at all because there was no space for my feelings to change. She stayed sober and was an absolute rock star mom and partner. I feel so fucking awful for being unfaithful to her. She caught on and started finding evidence. She found my coworker's hair on my shirt and asked me about it. I denied it. She went through my phone records and saw I'd been calling her often. I told her I had developed a connection with her and was confiding in her, but that's it. That wasn't true. She demanded I stop. I told her I would. I did for a few weeks but started again. She found cat hair on my clothes one night. I denied it was due to being at my coworker's house. She found sex stains on my pants one night. I said it was from masturbating. I mentally abused her by gaslighting her. She knew she was right but wanted to believe me so bad, and I took advantage of that. In September of 2023, I still maintained that I wasn't dating, but that I wanted to. I encouraged her to go on dating sites and start dating, that I would watch our toddler for her so she could date others and have the romantic connection and simple human connection she craved. Unfortunately, this caused so many triggers for her that she began drinking again. It got bad fast. I found her at home unconscious, drunk during the day with our toddler running around. I told her I would have to take him away if she didn't get help. She swore she would, but things just got worse. She started going on 2-4 day benders, showing up high on something, not looking, talking, or acting like herself. I was so hurt and so angry. I started sleeping at my coworker's house a few nights a week and set up cameras at home to make sure our toddler was safe while I wasn't there. She asked me for help, and I gave her therapists' names and offered to pay for everything. I was also giving her $2,000 minus $3,000 a month spending money while carrying all expenses except groceries. I offered to get maids to take care of cleaning and reduce the load. We reached a point where she said she needed to be out of this house and away from my clothes, my smell, my presence, so she could heal. I told her I needed the freedom to drug or alcohol test her at any time to make sure our toddler was safe. This became an emergency court action, and she eventually agreed. I helped her get a new townhouse, gave her the car, but she drove drunk and crashed it twice. My insurance covered the repairs both times, totaling $17,000. It became very scary. Her grandma died, who was one of the last people who she felt connected to. I could see a dark change in her, and she began wearing her grandma's hats and bracelets. Her other grandma died not long after, and she got even worse. I reached out to my wife's brother to express my concern, and to my surprise, he was not angry with me. He was just as scared as me, and we met to talk about our fear that she was dying. Selfishly, my thoughts were that I could never escape being the rescuer to my wife's emergencies. There was always an emergency. If I wasn't having an affair and simply ended our marriage, it would have still been a 10/10 betrayal, and she still would have viewed me the same way, I think. Who knows if I'm right. I held fast and didn't end my affair to reconcile or just be a support for her. I maintained that she needed to go to AA, go to therapy, and stop going on 2-4 day benders forcing me to be off work and confusing/scaring our toddler. I decided to move out in March 2024. My wife got her own place in April 2024. I couldn't financially manage paying my wife $2,000 per month net to help her survive while also paying for my own household and expenses. I cut my work hours from 50 hours per week to 20 so I could watch our toddler. This allowed my wife to work. My coworker and I were becoming more serious, and I opened up to my wife about the fact that I was dating her but lied about the timeline. I said I started dating her in October. She was devastated and confirmed that I had been lying the whole time. She said she was not comfortable with my coworker being around our child until we had been dating for a year. My coworker said she needs me to be completely honest with my wife, no more lies, no more half-truths, so I was. I told my wife I had been dating my coworker since May 2023. She was devastated all over again. She went through all the events I gaslit her about, all the lies, all the times it seemed like we were connecting, and told me that this was going to kill her. The lack of honesty and betrayal. I was her person, her husband, the one person who didn't leave her no matter how she treated me or what she did, and that in 2022 she finally started feeling safe with me. We were talking about having a second child, but at the end of 2022 I backed out because I didn't want to have another child before the drinking issue was treated. She told me she wants me to be totally honest with my coworker, and if I was and my coworker didn't leave me, she would meet my coworker and consent to our child being around during the days I had our toddler at my house. I told my coworker 70% of the truth, but didn't tell her that I sexually cheated on her with my wife 3 times over the course of the year. Obviously, my coworker felt hurt, betrayed, angry, sad, and demanded that I don't continue conversations with my wife. I don't go to her house. I don't play the role of her support figure. I should have said, "Too bad, I know it's unfair, but this is my child's mother who is in crisis, and my primary job right now is to come clean about everything and try to help my wife get sober and healthy. I didn't though. I tried my best to toe the line. I wanted to keep my new relationship and work my way up to being honest. I was in therapy. I FaceTimed my wife daily either to do bedtime stories with our toddler when he was at her place or vice versa. I took her food to show affection through her grieving process with her grandmother's deaths and our divorce. In mid-May of this year, I realized I couldn't do this. I would rather be with my wife, drinking or not, and do my best to help her. Seeing her in this much pain and knowing how much I contributed and how awful I was, I knew I had to stop what I was doing. I called my mom, she lives far away, in case anyone wonders why she was not a family support for our child, to tell her the truth about everything. My mom was very disappointed in me, but supported me in returning to my wife. I decided to sleep on it. If I still felt so strongly and so certainly the next day, I would tell my coworker that I am sorry, but I must prioritize my family. In the morning, I got a call that she had died by suicide the night before. She left a note saying that she could not handle the PTSD and nightmares from me gaslighting her. She was clear in the note that this was my fault, that I betrayed and abandoned her and left her alone during the worst time of her life. She was clear explicitly that I killed her. The coroners and detectives warned me not to read the note, but I had to know. I came clean to my coworker about everything, including my intent to leave. Now I have lost my wife, the mother of my child, my person. I see clearly now how despite her flaws and faults, and although her drinking was not my fault, the stress I caused her that often triggered her to drink was my fault. I see how much more I could have done. I see how horribly abusive I was. My wife was too, but not in the recent past. I see how distorted I was. I wake up in the night often. I cry constantly. I have breakdowns multiple times per day. I shake. I feel sick. I might as well have killed my wife myself. My child is going to grow up with no family except for me. When they are 18 and asks me the truth about their mom, I will tell them and they will hate me. I don't need any of you to tell me how awful I am. I already know. I want to die. If it wasn't for my toddler, I would kill myself. I now struggle day to day trying to stay alive to look after my child. I hate myself. I hate what I have done. I hate that I will never have a chance to explain to her. I hate that I slept on it. I was less than 12 hours away from making my decision while she was alive, and I'm certain it would have prevented her death. Why? I hate that I prioritized the person I knew and dated for a year over the person I was with for 15 years, married, and had a child with. Yeah, she abused me. Who fucking cares? She would have always been there. If I had put in more effort, she would have been okay. All she needed was some support. She was alone in the world except for me, and I checked out on her. Yeah, she refused so many chances to heal or address her issues before, but who the fuck cares? Why be spiteful or say, should have changed when you had the chance? All that matters is that she was ready, that it wasn't on my timeline didn't warrant my spiteful withdrawal. I ruined my life. I killed my wife. I lost my girlfriend. I destroyed my family. I destroyed my wife's family. I devastated my mom, who lost a daughter and now has a shell of a son. I upped my life insurance to $3 million. I hope I die. My child will be set for life and will not have to deal with having a monster for a father. So many people tried to warn me. My coworker asked me many times if I was certain I was done with my wife. She said if I wanted to try again with her I could, and she would wait for me. My best friend warned me. My wife begged me to give her one more chance. I am so sorry for what I have done. I do not deserve to live. For those who wrote with support, thank you so much. The comments of support from strangers are oddly comforting. I am doing my best to heal, though at this point it does feel like recovery from this is not possible. I am trying to take the perspective that this is the emotional version of a catastrophic physical injury. where the best outcome possible is recovering some ability and making peace with the ability that has been lost. For those who can relate, I am sorry. If you can relate to my story, you have likely gone through a lot of pain and a lot of experience with severe mental health issues or addictions. I hope you find healing in your life. For those who wrote that this is fake, I think it would be good to reflect on why you think it's important to post comments like this. What is gained? The best case scenario is you are correct, and someone is hurting so much in their personal life that they make up fake stories to get some type of connection. Someone without comfort in their life is a human being in need of help. Why would you want to prioritize catching them rather than giving them support? I checked a couple of profiles of people who wrote these negative comments about fake posts, and generally the comment histories are intense, negative, and angry. If this is you, I hope you find whatever is missing from your life that is hurting you so much. For those who wrote hateful messages about my wife, I think only someone who has been hurt by others who have addictions can lack empathy and feel so justified in condemning another human being. I hope you are able to heal from your anger and find peace in your life. Addiction is horrible, but is only a symptom of the pain that person has been through. Some people have enough support to heal and overcome this, but not everyone does. It is helpful, I think, to not judge people who are struggling in this way. For those who messaged me wishing death upon me, I think only someone who has been hurt by another person in their life who has done something like I have done could be so angry that they would wish death upon me. I am sorry you have experienced so much pain in your life, and I hope you find healing. For those who asked kindly for clarification about certain points that seem unusual, my mom lives very far away, so it was untrue to say that all my family has passed away. For someone like me who grew up with grandparents, aunts and uncles, mom and dad, it feels like I've lost everyone. I understand if some of you believe you've caught some major mistake, and this proves conclusively this is a fake story, and you are entitled to that belief. It does not justify you sending messages of hate. Regarding the term coworker versus employee, I have never viewed those who work for me as less than. I go out of my way to not call myself boss or them employees or subordinates. Totally outside the point of my post, I also go out of my way to avoid creating a dynamic at work where I am clearly superior to anyone else. Like the above, if you believe this is proof that my story is fake, that's okay, but again, please don't act hatefully. You can just move on from the post. Story 2, I've been pondering for days how to even begin to explain what has happened and where things stand. I owed it to those that have given me good advice since my screw-up to give an update. But just writing out what has happened and all the details and drama would take way too long. Our lawyers began corresponding. My SDBXWS side kept requesting she and I talk, and I kept saying no. Our side tried pushing the negotiations and get the ball rolling on our side. Every time the house and property got mentioned, my lawyer felt they were acting twitchy, whatever that means. But they still wanted to meet face to face and talk, saying it was very important for both of our futures going forward apart or together. I still wanted to say no. But my lawyer pretty much told me I'll have to see her in court eventually and we should meet. They knew we had infidelity evidence and what it was but hadn't seen it. My lawyer wanted to know exactly what they would say and angle they were playing. I just didn't want to see her or hear her voice. They weren't willing to do a group text, so we met. We met in a conference room at my lawyer's office. I was seated when my wife and her lawyer came in. I wanted my gaze to convey a touch of hate with ample disgust thrown in. She started crying and walking toward me, so apparently it didn't work. I told her to back the F up, which made her cry harder. I began moving back and away from her, which got her to stop coming forward. I'll spare everybody the specifics, but I pretty much cursed her out worse than any human has been cursed out. Before that fateful night, she'd never heard me yell at her. Before that day in the conference room, I'd never cursed at her, not even that horrible night. I let it all out. Every vile thing I had thought about her, every horrible thing I believed about her, and everything I wished would happen to her. Her lawyer was really shocked. Mine was just a little shocked, but I told him to expect it when he agreed to the meeting. My wife finally grasped I meant every word and hated her for what she'd done to us, what she'd done to me. Before the meeting ever started, we had to take a 30-minute break to calm down. When we actually did meet, my wife had a request to speak to me without interruption. I couldn't give a word-for-word account of what she said if I tried, so I won't. She started out saying she was extremely sorry for everything that has happened. She wished I would talk to her or answer her texts, but accepted that wasn't going to happen after what I said earlier. Then she went straight into telling me the land we own could be worth a huge amount of money in the not-too-distant future. Apparently, a company I will not name, but everyone has heard of, might want to purchase a huge amount of land to build on. The deal would be conditional on getting other landowners to sell, and I'm talking about a ton of acreage that the company would be buying up. Our land is in a zone of the country, X number of miles from a power station, X miles from a major highway, airport, water source, etc. It fits all of their qualifications. Then she said we really need to discuss the land because she can't sell it without me. That is when I stopped her. I said, "But you could have if I'd gone to prison, couldn't you?" It wasn't a question. I knew the answer from her lawyer's expression. Then she came out saying she told Marcus not to press charges. F me running, I wanted to hit someone, but I can't hit a woman and my lawyer would sue me. I didn't care they kept communicating after that night, but it still pissed me off. She said they had to stay in contact because he was the person behind the attempted sale. As the agent, he stands to make a mint. As the owners, we stand to make more. He has government and real estate connections stretching far and wide because of his parents' careers. But when he saw the opportunity to remove me from the equation, he took it. He never showed up anywhere naked. He had clothes in his car, but I didn't know. The cops got a very different story than what actually happened, but I'm not surprised. When I got charged, my wife claimed she wouldn't testify, but she couldn't get me to respond to her. She claimed she was glad I got the charges dropped. That was when I asked if she was glad before she found out I had recorded her and Marcus. She didn't answer. I let her and her lawyer see the footage I'd taken by passing them my phone. I don't think my lawyer wanted me showing it, but they knew it existed and I couldn't show it to anyone else yet. I told her that Marcus' wife would see that footage eventually. That's when she told me doing so would be losing out on a ton of money I'd never earn working my job. I asked if that was why she cheated, money, greed. The not, she actually told me she cheated for us. The argument that ensued over that comment alone went on for over an hour. We took a lunch break, and I went off to eat alone for an hour just to get away from everyone. In one very odd way, she'd given me good news, but it was gift wrapped in SH. The lawyers loved hearing of the potential sale of land. They knew we'd find out about it eventually, and any potential immediate sale I would have to agree to, so they spilled. I can nix the whole deal if I choose to. It won't cost Marcus a cent yet, but it would keep me from making a lot of money. But I can't make a lot of money unless my SDBXW makes a lot of money too. When I went back to the meeting, my wife pretty much explained how all of this got started. She was doing one of those parade of homes showings. Marcus' agency was showing 2 of the homes. They knew who each other were from traveling in the same circles, but he approached her and asked if we were happy living where we were. From there, he explained he knew an agent specialized in business/manufacturing sites. He explained his idea, and I guess she saw dollar signs. Marcus, a trusted pose in our area, could probably buy up the land from locals much easier than someone they never met. The 2 agents working together could easily buy low and sell high. The deal couldn't be made without us. due to the positioning of our land. Marcus and my wife got involved talking to locals and planning things out. Then they got involved physically. So 6 months before I knew my marriage had ended, it ended. She swore the two of them just got caught up in their excitement over the money. She said it didn't mean anything, it was just sex. I wanted to try and break my recent world cursing record, but I tried to not explode. I asked if she and that POS had used condoms. She said they did at first, but because she was on the pill well. 6 days, 6 effing days, I shouted before calling her a disgusting, worthless WH. She asked what I was talking about, so I proceeded to explain that when a man orgasms inside a woman, that's how long jizz can stay inside her. I really wanted to vomit thinking about what she subjected me to. I asked how she'd like me go to a prostitute, stick my fingers inside, and then put them in her mouth. Yes, it's disgusting, but it's the equivalent of what she did. She tried to claim she took showers. I told her unless she was able to stand on her head, spread her legs to rinse out, she's a nasty SL. And she wondered why I look at her with a revolted expression. It's because I'm revolted. She's disgusting and subjected me against my will to SH I don't even want to think about. That isn't even taking into consideration things she did with her mouth. Marcus can have the tramp, she's infected with his scuzz now. But I had to get out of there. I was no more good for the rest of the day. I went and got drunk for the first time since my after party at my dad's cabin. Part of me should be really happy, and I am. I know if things work out, I'll be able to pay my lawyers in full, repay my parents tenfold, and have a huge amount of money to start over almost anywhere. But the BS I've had to agree to in order to get that money makes me sicker than my wife. 3 damn lawyers wrote up an agreement. Our 2 lawyers wrote up an even split divorce. We cannot divorce until the land sells or the deal falls through, but the divorce will go through and my marriage is over. It isn't like I'm in some hurry to be single so I can marry again. I effing ghosted her really well despite my unfortunate marriage status. It isn't like I have to see or talk to the immoral Jezebel, but it does bother me to still have any tie with her in any way. I cannot contact Marcus' wife, not now or in the future. I cannot show the footage of my wife to her parents or family, but she has told them we are divorcing and did admit to having an affair. Either way, I got my job back and start next week at a new site. There's talk of having the charges Marcus brought against me sealed from record or something. But my record is clean, thank God. I'm still coming to grips with her excuses and her attitude about those excuses. Granted, I would be gone 10 days at a time. At no point did I suspect anything, and our sex life remained constant. I wish it hadn't now. At least the poor SOBs in dead bedrooms don't have to worry about swapping spit with a stranger. Her putting her tongue in his mouth or anywhere else, and kissing me was the equivalent of letting a stranger spit in my mouth against my will. But sick, cheating trash like my wife and Marcus don't seem to grasp that. I can only imagine Marcus' sex life with his wife continued during the affair. I really do wonder if she has any idea she went down on my wife by proxy at some point. Knowing what I know now, I'm glad I punched Marcus in the mouth. Still glad I didn't kill them or myself. But they are both disgusting, like a hobo's ass in an alley on a pile of garbage nasty. Humans just disgust me now. How she could willingly give her body to 2 different men back and forth is beyond my comprehension. I had many opportunities to cheat over the years, but didn't for many reasons, loyalty being first and foremost. But the idea of F-ing someone I don't know, who could have just been with any number of other people very recently, that's just insane. Condoms be damned. Those things break and don't protect from everything. There really is no safe sex except monogamy, but it only works when both people are faithful and haven't F-ed half the East Coast. I could have come out far, far worse than I should if things go right. But we're definitely looking at next year before things can get rolling. I'll work like I've done for years, but I won't have any place to come home to. She can stay in the house until the sale and pays all costs. The house will be demolished so nobody will live there after the sale. The majority of our land is undeveloped. There is no way in hell to move the house out and miles away. When I'm needed to sign paperwork, I'll be given notice and I'll show up to sign. Then our roads part ways faster than my wife's legs for a $100 bill, and I can move on with cash in hand. But she ruined me. And it's not effing fair. She cheapened me just by being associated with me. She revealed truth I didn't want to know, because it all goes back to the first comment on my very first post. I know not every woman is like my wife. I can vouch and say not every guy is a pose like Marcus, but I'll be damned if those people don't F it up for the rest of us. Why does it seem two loyal people with a great bond never meet? Almost every post on here is a nice guy / great girl who got involved with a whore / man whore, and the consequences of that bad decision. Forget being able to trust again. I can't get past the idea of ever wanting to trust anyone like that again. Nobody is worth what she put me through, and she sure as hell wasn't. It pisses me off he's going to get away with it. I guess the world will have to wait and see if karma can scare him like I did. I can't really see any reason for another update. She and I will divorce. Money will be deposited in my account and her account. And I will never see or speak to her again. That's how it will end either way. It's just on hold indefinitely. I want to thank those that gave me advice, told me to keep my mouth shut, and urged me to get lawyers. To those that told me to stay strong, I appreciate you. To those that felt I should eat a bullet, go eat a hobo, I will wait a day or two after posting to respond to a few comments, then I'll probably fade away. I wish healing for all of you who have been cheated on, just as I wish it upon myself. Until then, final edit, this will be my last comment to the thread. I appreciate those that have had my back. I also appreciate the people that gave me a kick in the ass. To the haters, I support your right to do so. Just know I won't be losing any sleep over it. As things stand right now, an April or May sale of the land is most likely. The industrial real estate agent has cleared a lot of the hurdles the company would have to jump through to buy the land. No idea on when clearing and building would start, but I will have my money by that time and won't care. So it is fast-tracked as much as can possibly be done. My wife still calls or texts occasionally, but I don't answer / read or respond. I don't believe she gives a damn about me, nor did she ever. Just giving your body to random people for their gratification is something alien to me. The fact she has the ability to do that with her body disgusts me, and I want no part of her or anyone like her. The fact I value her body more than she actually does truly saddens me. But whatever. I'm done with relationships anyway. There is no way in hell I could bring a child into this world with any woman due to my wife's actions. I do want kids, but after the land sale, I may in fact go the surrogate route. After her infidelity, the only thing my wife could possibly bring to the table is children. Women don't need men for kids now, and I sure don't need another unfaithful, disloyal wife to do it. And at least I'll know my children are being raised morally and ethically. My ex-wife has neither of those things. And with her actions, she proved she can never be a good wife. She proved she would be a horrible mother. God help any child that WH brings to this world.